City Council on Tuesday, September the 20th at 7 p.m. Please rise for the invocation given by former Councilman Phil Guasella and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, we are thankful for the many blessings you provide for us. Among them are those who serve the public as elected officials. We ask you to watch over and guide this council as they work with administration for the betterment of the residents of Eastpointe. Help them to make decisions that are right, just, and fair. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Here.
Councilperson Lucido?
Here.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Here.
Councilperson Marion?
Here.
Mayor Pixley?
Here. With that, we'll move to the first hearing of the public. Does anyone wish to be heard tonight? Does anyone wish to be heard? Mr. Jakubiec.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. My name is Walt Jakubiec. I'm an Eastpointe resident. Tonight, I would like to inform you that former Mayor Harvey Curley and myself have formed a committee to stop the RTA. I have heard more about the RTA than I care to tell you about. It's probably one of the worst things that's happened to this area in a long time. What I want to do tonight is just briefly tell everybody, because 99% of the people that we talk to know absolutely nothing about the RTA. I've talked to people in my neighborhood, at church, people on the street, people that come by. Nobody knows anything. So first of all, the RTA is the Regional Transit Authority. And it's made up of a system of buses. You have one bus in Washtenaw. It's called the AAATA, Ann Arbor Area Transit Authority. And then you have in Detroit, DDOT, Detroit Department of Transportation. You have the People Mover, and you have M1 Rail. And then in 3 counties, Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb, you have SMART. All right, the RTA, as far as I'm concerned, is going to wind up taking all of these bus systems out. There's going to be one bus system that's going to be the RTA. And when they do that, they're going to have full control of our bus system. And they're going to come at us and come at us and come at us for more money. Let me tell you why. We spend $69 a year on public transportation. Cleveland spends $177. Chicago spends $243. Seattle spends $471. I went online and I looked at Atlanta, New York, and Boston, and I don't know if I was asking the wrong questions, but I couldn't come up with a figure per capita. But because we're only spending $69, that's not enough, and it really isn't. But how much do they want? I think we need to at least double that, because I went to a meeting in the county, and it was at the time when they were going through the budget. And the gentleman from SMART was there. He begged and pleaded for more money. All these systems are financially fragile. So what we need to do is, number one, vote no on the RTA. That's going to be the worst thing that ever come down the pike. I would like to see the RTA be smart. In fact, if you look at this paperwork I have here, Oakland County feels the same way. Oakland County does not trust the RTA, and neither does Macomb County. And the reason is they don't think that they will use the money and spread it around correctly. So what they did is they forced the RTA to agree to pay back to the counties 85% of the money that's collected from the 1.2 mills. Each county will get 85%. And they did that to protect SMART. But is it going to work? I don't know. They're going to run 2 buses down here. In fact, They're running 2 buses right now. One of them's Smart, and one of them's the RTA. Doesn't say RTA in a bus unless you look at the very back. In letters about this big, it says RTA of Michigan. What are they trying to pull? Trying to get in from the back door. And the newspapers aren't helping us. We're going to pay and pay, and Detroit, which cannot afford to fund DDOT and the People Mover and the M1 rail, we're going to fund it. So I want everybody in November to say no to the RTA. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell everybody, vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Not at this time. You can ask him a question. Did you want to speak? Did you want to come forward and speak?
Yes.
If you'll come up to the stand and state your name and speak. From the stand, you have 3 minutes.
Right here, is this where you want me?
Yes, ma'am. And speak to the mic that's red.
On your left.
Okay.
You can bring it down right in front of your mouth. There you go.
Thank you. My name is Mary Kay Moore, but I'm known by Kay. That's what I go by. I originally came here for another reason, but we were a few minutes late, so I only caught part of this. I am a senior citizen. I think that maybe is kind of obvious if you look at me. And my daughter lives in Pennsylvania. One of my children lives in Pennsylvania. It happens to be my daughter. She was here a week and a half ago. And one of the things she did, I had already done part of it, but she also did, we went through the smart transit schedules so we could see where I could go from Eastpointe. I live on Boulder, so I'm only 3 blocks from Gratiot. We went through the SMART, we went to the senior citizens, and then the next, which doesn't affect anyone here, other than I need to find an attorney so I can get my final will updated and power of attorney, that kind of thing. And most of those items you can do through the senior centers, I think. I'm not sure. But now back to the SMART system. Almost all of my 42 years of working, I rode a SMART bus every single day downtown Detroit. And it saved you parking, because parking is expensive per day. It made sure if you caught the bus on time, you were on work on time too, and you had a ride home. You could park at 15 Mile, you could park at the shopping center, there's what I'm referring to. You could park there. I often outran the bus and got down to it and caught it at a Kroger store. You can catch it on Jefferson. There are a number of sites, and what my daughter and I, and what she wanted to ensure, that I could get from my house on Boulder to Lakeside if I wanted to go. And if I took a special bus, I think I can also get to Ann Arbor to my eye doctors. That bus SMART system is critical to all of us in Macomb County. I would hate to see anything diminish at all. Have I said enough, or do you want any other comments
Your
or
time is
questions?
pretty much up.
Pardon me?
Your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard? The lady in the back.
My name is Kathy Burns, and I've lived in Eastpointe for over 30 years. And I have a complaint, which you guys probably can't do anything about. It's the water bill. We used to get them the first of the month. Lately, we've been getting them like 3 or 4 days before they're due. It's not a problem for me because I'm not really on a fixed income and everything. But we have senior citizens and everything. They can't wait till like 2 or 3 days before the bill is due, run over here, try to pay it, and stand in line forever. My husband came over here yesterday and today, and he had to wait and wait. I know you could do the drop-off, you could have it automatically on your account, But senior citizens don't like this. The older people are set in their ways, and I don't blame them. They, they don't know how much is coming out of their checks or when they're taken out and everything. I don't understand why all of a sudden in the last couple months it's dropped 2 weeks. First time it happened, I called City Hall. They told me that the bills were at the post office. So I turned in and I called the post office. They haven't seen the bills. So I turned in and I called City Hall again. Oh, we're taking them over today. Something's wrong here. I mean, Eastpointe is not that big, that many houses, and they know this is going to happen. They know the people are paying and everything. You're trying to force everybody to go in to have it automatically taken out of their account. People don't like this. It doesn't bother me. But senior citizens live on fixed incomes, and it's not the same every month. You can't tell me your water bill's the same every month. It's, $2 or $3, but that's not the point. If they're going to have $45 taken out of their account, and all of a sudden they take 48, it confuses them, and they don't understand. And I don't understand either why we have, we've done everything in the world to help City Hall out, make it better, pay taxes, give increases and everything. And all of a sudden, it's like, okay, we've got them, we're going to force them into an issue. It's not me. It's senior citizens. I've talked to several senior citizens in the last couple of months, and they're really frustrated with this. And
You have
like I said,
about-
you guys probably have nothing you can do about it.
You have
But it's an
about
issue
30
that should be
seconds.
brought up.
You have about 30 seconds, but I'm sure our finance director can answer your
Well,
questions.
we got the bills on Friday. They're due tomorrow. Now, a lot of these people don't have, a way to get over here, or they have to come and stand, or they have to rely on somebody else and everything.
Your time is up, but our finance director can answer your questions, and if you still have more comments, you can come back during the second hearing of the public. Mr. Curley, did you want to speak?
Harvey Curley, City of Eastpointe. 3 quick comments about RTA. I'm sure all of us have noticed these, bluish-green buses going up and down Gratiot, and they do say reflex on the bus. I don't have a clue what reflex means, but I don't care because the bottom line, it's RTA at the bottom. And those buses were funded and bought by Smart money in their account. The bus drivers are employed by Smart, and the maintenance is also done by Smart. I don't know, there was an article in the Free Press saying how great this bus was. It smelled good, the air conditioner worked really well, and the drivers were really friendly. But if they're going up and down the street and they're stopping at 10-mile road and 9-mile road and 8-mile road using the inside and letting people on and off on the curb, why do they have to spend millions of dollars and tear up our median? I don't understand that at all. I don't understand that, why they have to do that. Second, and this is directed to the business people, I know one person I went to that owns a business in town, they did not realize that they're going to have to pay 1.2 mils for their business and then 1.2 mil if they live in one of the 4 counties. So the business people are going to be hit with 2.4 mils instead of us with 1.2. Thirdly, as Walter said, we're forming a committee, and if there's anybody out there or anybody in the audience that wants a yard sign in opposition of the RTA millage, let us know. My number's in the book. You can get it out of the book. And let's get together, and I can't speak again, as I said before, for any city except here in beautiful Eastpointe. No better place to live. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Curley. Anyone else wish to be heard? Sir, over in the corner.
Jeff Georgian, Topher, Eastpointe. I was just coming up to talk about, we have a lot of speeding going on Topher and Beechwood area right now. It's kind of comes and goes, but lately we've been having an uptick of that for some reason, and also a lot of I don't know, mini bikes. A lot of people riding mini bikes around. I'm not sure if that's in the street, if that's legal or not. Not sure what the ordinance is on that, but that's also been going on a lot over in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Mr. Quasella.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm Phil Guastella, resident of Eastpointe on Spindler. Good evening, Council and Administration. I'm here tonight to remember and to pay tribute to our friend and Councilman Bill Sweeney. This Friday will mark the second anniversary of Bill's untimely passing, and I want to make sure that people do not forget the positive impact that Bill had on this city as a resident and as a councilman. As a coach and mentor, he encouraged kids to be kids, have fun, play sports, be active in the community. As a councilman, he took it even further. He was proud of his city and wanted others to be just as proud as he was. He wanted all residents to take pride in their hometown and to make it the best that it could possibly be. Bill knew that the right thing to do may not have always been the most popular thing to do, but that never entered into his decision-making process. Bill would be pleased that Eastpointe is on fairly solid financial footing and that the city has been able to continue to provide the necessary services. Bill would enjoy the activities that take place at the Sweeney Sports Hill at Spindler Park, the winter sledding, the summertime hill climbings, though he would probably chuckle at the name of the hill. Bill would also be happy to see new faces on City Council and would be proud that the work that started with him at the table is being continued by this group. Bill's loss has been felt by so many people, his wife Peggy and the rest of his family, his many friends, and by the entire city of Eastpointe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guastel. Does anyone else wish to be heard?
My name is Alicia Beadle. I live over on Roush. I purchased my house about 3 years ago, and within a month of living there, my car was almost stolen. And I had about $1,500 worth of damage I had to pay out of pocket. And I basically was told by all of my neighbors that that's kind of a rite of passage in Eastpointe. Kind of disconcerting when you have 3 small children, but last Friday, we had a neighbor, our neighbor next door, had $17,000 worth of lawn equipment and his truck stolen from directly in front of our house because he parks in front of our house. And the police response to that was to ticket one of our vehicles as abandoned because it hadn't been moved in 2 days. So on Friday it was stolen, and on Sunday we had a abandoned vehicle sticker on one of our cars. Within the same week, we had a neighbor who also had her bike stolen out of her backyard while her and her 2-year-old son were home. And on this previous Friday, my husband walked outside to put his car seat for the baby. We were going to go out to dinner in my car and walked out to someone in the middle of the daylight stealing our lawnmower out of our backyard. So as he called 911, and we had another person who happened to see these people taking the lawnmower out of our backyard also call 911. He pursued the vehicle. He got a license plate, and at that point the 911 operator had told him to discontinue following the car. So now I have over $1,000 worth of damage to my vehicle where this person was trying to get away from my husband and damage my vehicle. We had a detective assigned to one of the claims, which apparently there's 2 different case numbers, one for the theft and one for the car damage. And my husband has called this detective 3 times, trying to just get some kind of update so that we can get insurance paperwork and find out if we're getting our lawnmower before we get another ticket for our tall grass. And he can't even get the courtesy of a phone call back. At the point that we had a discussion with all of our neighbors going on, we were sort of confronted by one of the officers who decided that it was more important for him to be heard than me, as I was reminding my husband to move our cars, because obviously every time the police come by our house, they need to make sure that they take photos of our cars. We've had our vehicles, which are all registered, licensed, insured, next to our house, tagged on a minimum of 16 separate times in less than a year, because we haven't moved them in 2 days. And it's frustrating for me as a resident that I can't get a phone call back from an officer. I have people on the corner buying drugs all the time. I've called the police probably 30 times trying to get some kind of assistance. And I can't ever get anybody to come out to my house, but somehow our police department has the resources and the time to come by our house and monitor whether we move our vehicles. And it's a bit frustrating that now we have a theft in broad daylight and we can't even get a phone call back so that we can file a claim with our insurance and get my van fixed. And yet now we have to be concerned as to whether or not we need to move our cars every 2 days because that seems to be a bigger priority than the theft that's going on in broad daylight. And this is 3 times on one street and I haven't seen one patrol car on our street. And it's kind of a frustration that's gotten to the point where we're ready to take our three very young children and get out of the city as fast as we can, because for a family-friendly city, it's not safe for us. So
I want to thank you for coming forward, but can you state your name again?
it's Alicia Beadle.
And then, if you wouldn't mind just giving your address to Linda over there?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Does anyone else wish to come forward? Sir? And just for the record, please state your name as well.
Yes, ma'am. My name's Kevin Beadle, citizen of Eastpointe. Been here about 2.5, 3 years. I've worked with MedStar as part of the 911 contract with the city. Going to kind of ride my wife's coattails a little bit on what's been going on. There have been, from my understanding, a large rash of thefts and larcenies, break-ins, et cetera, going on within the community itself, especially the south of 9 Mile area. And my question would be, I would like to get some kind of neighborhood watch program or community policing program involved. And I would also like to know kind of what is the police department's policies on how they patrol, how they work things, how they do it. You know, I understand being understaffed and run thin and everything else. I'm just kind of curious as far as that input, like how things work, whether it's a proactive or reactive kind of system. Do we get community members actually involved in these things where, you know, we reach out to leaders of the community to say, hey, if you see something, call us and say something. You know, when our lawnmower was stolen, it was broad daylight and there were at least 8 other neighbors walking up and down the street. And nobody decided to knock on our door or walk up to these guys and say, hey, is that your lawnmower guy? You know, I'm kind of tired of playing the victim when I've got 3 small children at home. And I'm no longer going to play the victim. And I'm going to do those things which are required of me to protect my home, my property, and my family.
So we can't answer your questions at this time, but we can make a comment afterwards.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard at this time? Anyone else?
Well, but I don't think I can speak yet. It's a different topic, but.
You can speak again later. All right, without that, then the first hearing of the public is closed. We'll move on to approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of September the 6th. Can we get a motion, please?
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of September 6, 2016.
Support.
In the support, any corrections? Please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. We have no scheduled hearings tonight. We only have one item under unfinished business. That's the second reading and the adoption of ordinance number 1131, the fee schedule. We have a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to give second reading to and adopt ordinance number 1131, which replaces section 2-525 of the codified ordinances of the city of Eastpointe regarding the fee schedule.
Support.
Move and support. I do have one comment on this, and this is just after the convention last week and attending a meeting on legal aspects of city government. And that was related to Bolt. That was just passed in the legislature. And Miller Canfield did the presentation, and they said to be extremely cautious of class action suits that seem to be popping up all over in southeast Michigan related to administrative fees. So in reviewing these, I only saw 2 items that were administrative fees. So I'm going to ask Mr. Duchesne to review them. They just want to be sure that if you do have a fee and it is an administrative fee, that you can prove that it would total up to the amount that you're charging. I don't see anything, you know, most of our
Yeah,
stuff is proportionate, so.
It is, and we generally follow OMB Circular A21, which is the federal standard for administrative cost recovery, and obviously do a direct cost allocation, both direct in relation to the service being provided, and then we do not add on indirect charges for the most part. But that's all good. Lansing v. Bolt was decided many years ago, but the people do from time to time pick it up, and obviously anyone could file suit, and so we are aware of that. But those are good points. I don't think in the review of the charges and those recommended to council in here, I've found nothing either that would jump out and give significant concern from any of the departments regarding their fee structures for you.
All right, any other comments?
Did we clarify the frozen water meter?
Yeah, here they meant frozen.
Okay.
It wasn't the term of art, it was a frozen water meter, literally frozen by the cold because it wasn't protected and correctly in the process in the building.
Should we just say broken?
Frozen.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
it's.
slash broken or something. I guess just something to clarify, since
Yeah, it's,
someone else might have the same question.
yeah, I think it'll work either way. You can say frozen or certainly damaged, broken would also work in there. Addition to it, maybe we'd add to it.
I'd assume if you took a sledgehammer to it, we'd still, charge for it, right?
We would. We'd find that unacceptable.
That'd be broken.
Yeah.
That'd be broken, for sure.
All right, please call the roll.
I'm sorry, I have that was by,
Cardy.
yes,
Cardy
and John, correct? Okay.
Oh, Michael.
Oh, Michael, sorry, Mike. Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
yes. Then we'll move on to reports from administration. We'll start with the city manager, Mr. Duchesne.
And related to the one item that we have tonight on the smoke testing, I did have, it's not very easy to read, and they're working on adding some enhancements to it in larger form, but this is just for information regarding basement backups. The city engineers in the city keep a mapping system of the backup plans, and this goes through 2014 when we had the significant ones, and prior to 2010, AEW keeps that on a map, a series of maps also. I apologize for you'll see the problem here. I can't really expand it for easy handout purposes without making a very large document out of it. So, but I mean, it is an eye strain. So I think just to point out for council, the green were claims back in 14, which was that significant August incident. Backup claims, then we jumped to 14 and 16 that backed up both years. So you'll see very, some commonality, but not too significant. And then claims filed and claims not filed but known are also on there. And again, I respectfully, AEW is producing, they keep a document that we use, and they have that available on big charts, but it isn't very reproducible for handling. But just to give you some idea, I guess, in a different perspective. Obviously, the 14 claims, you see that very close to the Warren border and issues there, and then you see small groups around, not always reproduced in 16. So there was a couple, and that sporadic kind of reaction causes us to be speculating whether it's something in that immediate vicinity in the person's system, or, you know, backflow preventers we have now found have failed or rusted out, or, as we mentioned before, some of the roof drains, gutter drains reconnected into the sanitary in places. There was some action done on Stevens because that was a bit of a puzzle, so we did do some cleaning out that was asked about in the weekly questions. And as you can see, there's really not a terribly strong pattern of activity in these couple of years. Now, you go back to 10 and beyond, before Mr. Pangori, who's been here since dirt, literally, at least the sewers in some cases, he indicated that, because I asked him when we had a staff meeting regarding this, in a review meeting, what else was his experience going to show, even if I didn't have a map in front, and he said similar kinds of responses. You're going to find no real area or designated area consistently having this kind of issue. So I just put that out for a little information as we proceed in that and continue to investigate this area. Randy's got his. He doesn't need any. Rich, did you go in down there? Just.
No, I looked at cards, so.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I was holding on to one. The other related, I will say that been very much a enthusiasm of support in the lawsuit against the state. Certainly last week at the Michigan Municipal League, found a number of people wanting and proposing to be associate members and joining in support of the suit. I'm very pleased by that. I just sent out this afternoon a bond buyer's guide article that was national, originating out of Dallas regarding the suit. And we've had a number of coverage articles and have been on a couple of radio station programs regarding the lawsuit. And again, as far as all municipal league activity goes, it is really the only action proactively being taken in the state of Michigan. The league continues to educate and inform of the known existence of the problems in the past, and ours is an action going forward. So, but I'm pleased that many of your fellow communities and mayor and council members are very, very supportive, and I appreciate them taking action too, to contact us in the last few days to send their paperwork in to become parties of support to our association. So with that, Madam Mayor, that's all I had tonight.
All right, any other questions?
One quick question from hearing the public that I think we could probably answer now. The mini bikes, is that actually, can Deputy Chief Kaiser, are those actually legal on the roads?
Deputy Chief, good.
Okay.
There you go.
In most cases, they are not. We can enforce that.
They are, is what you said?
No, are not.
They are not.
Are not.
Somewhat difficult to catch at times, but
What about mopeds? Because I know I've seen those are not.
Mopeds are legal. They have to be licensed, as long as they have turn signals, brake lights, rear view mirrors, horns, anything that a car is required safety-wise. They are legal for the roads. You have to be of a certain age. You can have a moped license when you're 15 years old. Mini bikes that lack that safety equipment are not permitted on our streets.
Okay.
They're not permitted on the sidewalk. No motor vehicle is permitted on the sidewalk.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
Just one more four-wheelers. I was curious because I have seen that before.
See that up and down Gratiot. Some.
Four-wheelers also prohibited in the city of Eastpointe. Yeah, those are off-road vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
And then you're going to let Mr. Blum answer the question that the lady had about the bills.
yes, even though you know he's doing duty under great duress tonight, so I will let him answer that. One quick comment though is that we are aware of many factors that have gone into it, and he's been telling me of different actions taken. I'll let him explain that and we'll go ahead. But Postal Service from Eastpointe does not do a local delivery anymore. It's a factor. We have to adjust. It is true we'd encourage people not to stand in line and drop bills off, but that wasn't our intent when the post office now sends all mail to Pontiac first before it is delivered back to Eastpointe. So we are aware of this, and we are trying to do our best to work around not only billing, but things like absentee ballots being dropped off and returned. We're going to not issue absentee ballots with the idea they're going to be mailed in close to the election, because we just want to make sure that people understand it may not make it back to us, amongst other things. And I'll have Mr. Blum answer the other actions he's taking.
Any other questions for Mr. Duchesne? No. All right, let's move on to that. Mr. Blum.
Okay. Madam Mayor and Council, that is one topic I was going to discuss. In prior months, we could fully attribute any late bills to the U.S. Postal Service and their new processing method. This particular month, it definitely got out late. We had an individual who ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks in the middle of tax due date season, and everything got behind. We got everybody in doing some overtime to get caught up, but the bill went out about a week and a half later than normal. Because we were off schedule with the printer. It got delayed another 2 days with them because they had to fit us in where we weren't normally scheduled. And then you still got the postal issue. We know they hit the mailboxes extremely late this month. We are going to accept payments through Thursday, an extra day at the counter with no penalty. We will take anything in the drop box that goes in over the weekend, so if it's there Monday morning, no penalties. And we are going to keep open for the Monday mail. We will get a deluge of mail on Monday, and we will accept all that as being on time. And then we'll see what comes in after that and may make additional adjustments. We can't keep it open too long, or next month's bill will be late too, because we got to get the payments posted so we can get the process going. And it's always this churn every month between getting the payments processed to get the next bill out, to get it at the post office, to start the cycle again. And this month was a bit of a disaster. So, but we are going to do our best to make accommodations for that. And that was all I had.
Anyone else have any questions?
I was just, do we have that information posted anywhere?
No.
Like online or anything?
No.
Okay. I don't know if that,
Website, Facebook, email?
yeah.
You guys and your technology.
But, you know, the thing is, so many of the seniors don't have any of those things that you're
Right.
mentioning, so.
If someone else sees it, could let them know.
The one, people have been calling, and we've been letting them know when they call. Most people just come in and pay their bill. And the Monday was kind of normal. People write their checks over the weekend, come in Monday. The Monday before due date is always a disaster out there in the lobby. It's just, we expect it. And tomorrow will probably be busy too. But we are going to give a little bit of a grace period here on the penalty side of it.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's move on to Mr. Albright.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. Last week, I participated in approximately 20 dangerous building hearings here at City Hall, which covered both Monday and Tuesday afternoons. They went well. I anticipate I should have report and orders from the hearing officer in approximately 30 days. Also a reminder, at the next City Council meeting, we will have a continuing show cause hearing regarding the Gascony property. The reason that it was tabled was due to the fact that the property was recently transferred. I have sent out notice to the new owner along with the previous owners, so anybody that wishes to appear at the next hearing will have an opportunity to do so. And on a sad note, I wanted to let everybody know that Judge Martin Smith, he was a judge for nearly 40 years here in the city. He passed away back on September 18th. I had the privilege of practicing before him, and he had all the attributes of a wonderful judge. And, he will be missed.
He was really a fine person, too.
He
really
really
a great
was.
person.
Yes. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor. Happy to answer any questions.
I do have a question about the new changes in the medical marijuana law. So I'm hoping that you'll review that and see if we need to change our ordinance in any way.
Yeah, they are coming down. The Lansing finally took action on those bills, which have been sitting up there for quite some time. I know that the city of Warren has already begun in addressing those issues, and we will also be actively looking at that and getting with the city administration as well.
From the sound of it, it doesn't sound like we had to change very much at all from
I
what
don't-
we already have.
I don't believe so.
Right. Anything else? Well, let's move on to new business, and item A is to approve the contract with ADS Environmental Service to perform the smoke testing of the city's sanitary sewers. Do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the contract with ADS Environmental Services out of Troy, Michigan, to perform smoke testing of the city's sanitary sewers at the total cost of $18,585.
Support.
Move and support. Now, I'm sure we have lots of questions. I mean, it's been going back and forth. So, Cardy, do you have questions too?
Sure, yeah, if we could discuss this a little bit here. My first question would be, so now we know, well, yeah, you sent this, you have this, we have the map here of, to try and find patterns, of course, is what we're trying to do here. We have the map of where all the claims were filed. Of course, only a portion are in the zone, and I would assume we can see what we can find out this time, and then maybe apply it to other areas of the city, is what I would assume we're
Yeah,
intending
this
to
area,
do if,
yeah, this area is a little confined, but of course, right now to go citywide would probably be certainly
Sure.
excessive based on that, so that's true. We'd do a basic evaluation with this and then proceed with the data, and correspondingly, if you find any patterns in what we find or don't find, then that would be guiding us to what to look for in the future.
So my other question, though, is so we will be smoke testing our own lines. I'm assuming these all somewhat interact, or could cause issues also at the county or state. I mean, I'm definitely not an expert, but what if there's a major problem there? What can we do there without just kind of guessing? Because, would we need them to do smoke testing, or can we?
No, not really. Basically here for sanitary sewer in the combined system, you're going to have principally either city-owned or a city joint partnershiply owned with sanitary district, and the connections are really at locations that the smoke testing would, go into those areas, but we have some joint maintenance responsibility. As far as like the state areas, there would be under state rights of way, but there's a combination of treatment of those. It wouldn't necessarily go to like the I-94 pump houses, for example. It won't go there the way it's set up to do that. So everything else would be indicative of residential and commercial services primarily through the city system.
But the flooding of I-94, though, you don't think could contribute to flooding of basements in East? That's, I guess, what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, I kind of thought you were going there. The indications in this last incident were due to pump failure. Our line actually goes underneath 94, but is not directly affected by those pump stations. So, and as we understand it from MDOT, they just said this is pump failure due to lack of maintenance. And they took that responsibility for it. So in this case, in this particular case, I can't say for all cases, but that does not appear to be a direct attribute of some of the basement backups that we had in this last incident at this time with this information.
Well, the pump backup that you're talking about with MDOT, that wasn't the big substantial rain that we had. That was the one following that when they had the
Right.
failure. So the one that was before that, 94, was also flooded in this area, the same area. And I know of at least, 15, 20 houses in this area that had basement flooding.
In July.
Yes, in July. But it was August when the MDOT said they had the pump failure. And there was major flooding on 94 then also.
The actual totals, I had them pull those too, and we met on that. So August 16th rainfall is, I believe, what you're talking about. That incident was, according to all of the peak records here, He had a 5 to 10 year at one location, which is 2.47 inches on the west side of the community, another one of 2.46 inches reading. And on the east, the nearest two to the east side of the community are the peak was by 94 at 2.7 inches. And then up in the general area of St. Clair Shores, they had a 2.49.
And that was
according to
August
that.
16th.
That was the August 16th.
Do you know what the rain totals were for the one in July? Because that
It was
the
less
one-
than that.
It was less
Yeah,
than
it
that.
was less than that one. I don't have that mapped out here yet, so.
Okay.
That's why it's not, I mean, over time, it's, you know, hopefully further facts come forward, but that's why the engineers right now are the best information. They are giving us best guess, a combination of the rainfalls and something isolated in areas that may or may not, it didn't appear that the public system failed in any place. No pump stations, no blockages and things. So really, that's kind of why you're doing the smoke test now, is to try to give you some more information on that, because it doesn't correlate to an easy, you know, there was some failure, certainly nothing about lost capacity because the volumes were there. So we're puzzling over it, and they're puzzling over it, and this is, you know, a hope that maybe it'll give some further direction in this test.
Anything else? Please call the roll.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Item B is a special event application from the Eastpointe Lions for the annual Harvest Fest. Do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the request from the Eastpointe Lions Club to conduct a Harvest Fest on October 8th, 2016 at Eastbrook Commons, subject to the following conditions. 1, a permit is required for all 10 by 20 tents, but if it is a canopy, no permit is required. And 2, provide a certificate of flammability.
Support.
Support. Any questions?
I have one question. When we approve an application like this, if they have rain day included on there, is that included with it, or do we need to specify that in the motion if we're approving that as well? Just because I noticed that they had, you know,
They have a rain day scheduled for the following day.
Yeah.
In case.
If it's listed on the permit and you approve the permit, that's sufficient to do that
Okay.
with the one resolution.
I was just wondering because I don't think I knew.
Yeah, I think as long as it's indicated and that's part of their application, when you approve it, it goes with it. If they did not and came back, or, you know, whatever reason want to adjust it, you'd have to adopt a separate one.
Okay.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
I'm on the committee.
Well, you can still vote on that.
Okay. I'll vote for yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
We move on to payroll and bills. We have a motion to pay all these bills.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $1,644,007.91.
Support?
Move and support. Any specific questions?
Just have one quick one for the, that we were just discussing, the laptops. How come we didn't bring it to, I know we had discussed it, well, I shouldn't say that. We've talked about moving technology forward, I know, but it was more than 5,000. I was just wondering why we didn't bring it to council first.
It was in the package that we approved in the prior year in the technology plan, the 111. And due to the reduced cost of that program, and in addition to the additional revenue that I allocated from the IFEC that was provided, we looked at this as an opportune time to exercise that. And as part of that package that was bid and awarded, that's where the purchases were made. So that was taking care of the amount total. And other than that, there's really nothing. It was more of the following the program to expand and having the availability of funds, an opportune time to do it, and having come in under our bid for the prior capital year in 15-16. No, what am I in, 14, 15? Yeah, 14, 15 it was in. That's the reason.
All right, thanks.
I'll have to talk to you more about that at some point because I found it hard to follow how that worked. So you're saying basically it's under a contract we previously approved?
Yeah, it was part of, in our technology plan, it's been listed, it's been a plan that we have waited for the right time, I guess, to do it. In last year's allocation, we had budgeted 111,000, we came in under that for all of the other city equipment that was there. That plus, when I was rationalizing what's a good time, we had uncommitted revenue that was unbudgeted and unanticipated from the IFEC, the Industrial Facility Exemption Certificate that went in. I thought since that was an independent action of the city and council approved that we'd allocate it towards this project at the time. So I know it seems kind of convoluted, but I was trying to see, no, everybody wants to know how I think. I say how I think and it looks scrambled. But that was the connection of all the parts to it.
Okay.
And you followed that, right?
Better than the first.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido.
Yes.
Mayor Pixley.
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico.
Yes.
Councilperson Marion.
Yes.
And with that, we'll move to the second hearing of the public. So is there anyone that wanted to speak a second time? And you have 3 minutes.
Fine. I'm here on a second reason for the same reason. I appeared several weeks ago trying to get more action taken against the speeders that go down Boulder Avenue each and every single day from 8 o'clock in the morning until it's past dark. I think the police need to check on this problem. People are using it for a shortcut between Topher and 9 Mile. That's not what the street is for. There are no speed limits up. It would be beneficial to have speed limits up. The first time I appeared before council, it was suggested that we put up no children playing signs. I looked for them. I couldn't find any, so I let it go. But I'm back again telling you that the same problem still exists, and when the police sat there and patrolled those 2-3 weeks that they were there, they wrote many tickets, and I'm sure the avenue or income is what I'm trying to say for the city was nicely enlarged. But why do we have to patrol like that to get citizens to obey simple stop signs? They run them. They don't stop for them. They don't even slow down for them. Live on Boulder for a while, you'll see it. I'm asking that you send some kind of police presence to patrol that street for a period of time so that you can see the people breaking the law and the speeds. Some of them are going well in excess of 40 miles an hour, and they race down that Boulder Avenue as well. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Does anyone else wish to be heard?
My name is Jane Antone, and I live on Boulder also, and main reason I came was to find out what's going to happen to that house on Boulder, that there was a question whether it was going to be torn down or not. Anybody address that?
We can't answer that question. You can speak to the city attorney afterwards, and he
Okay.
can probably give you
Okay.
some answers on that.
Another thing, as far as our street is concerned, my suggestion is to put a sign, a 25 mile an hour. I haven't seen any 25 mile an hour signs any place in the city. And I have a lead foot, so I have to just remind myself every time that I go down there. I have gone down Stevens, and, it's 30 miles an hour. They have a sign. And so, okay, then I dial down, where I'm driving. But it has made a big difference for me, just to kind of remind me. I don't even know if there's any on Topher. But, that's another 30 mile an hour. So I just think that we need these physical reminders to tell us, we do have a speed limit. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Mr. Jakubiec?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Just a couple things. One thing I want to point out is the smart buses that go by here right now, I mean the RTA, they're stopping at the same stops that SMART stops at. If that goes through, if the RTA goes through, they're going to be stopping at 8, 9, and 10 miles. So if you live in between there and you're a senior or you're a handicapped person, you're going to have a walk on your hands. So we need to make sure that we say no in November. What I want to do, one other thing, I got a couple of flyers from the RTA, and they said, we're here to take care of our seniors and our handicapped. Well, like I just said, right now they're stopping at the same stop that SMART does. But again, if that thing goes through, it's 8, 9, and 10 miles. And as a senior or a handicapped person, you're out of luck. So if you live at 8.5, you got a half-mile walk in either direction. One other thing, the former Mayor Harvey Curley and I are going to appear tomorrow at the 8K meeting at 7 o'clock, and it's at Pleasant View on Topher and Shakespeare. So if you want to know more about the RTA, show up. Something about flooding. My neighbor called the insurance company and said they had a flood, and they were reluctant to pay anything. And so the gentleman helped him out. He said, don't call us and tell us you had a flood. Tell us you got water in your basement due to a sewer backup. And most of the insurance companies will take care of you if you address it that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Sorry, I will be brief. About a year and a half ago, well, I guess more than that at this point, I had contacted Mr. Duchesne's office regarding changing the ordinance to include having backyard chickens. And I kind of got, giggles and ha-ha funny. And I was told to approach the City Planning Commission, which I did. I went to the meeting, I discussed things. We had a sort of a Q&A on the spot there. And at a later meeting, I spoke to several of the commission members, and I had what I anticipated having their support. And they said they would forward it here to City Council. And about 6 months later, I was told that, just watch the minutes and watch the motions, and that somebody will come up for a vote. So about 6 months goes by, and I finally contact Mary Van Haren, saying, hey, I'm just checking to see what the status is of this. And I was told that it never even got bothered to be voted on, that it was just decided that it was not going to happen. And I don't know if you guys can answer any questions, but I would love to hear the rationale as to why that is the way it is, because we can have ducks, but we can't have chickens. And my husband and I, live in a kind of rough area of Eastpointe, and we recently had several young boys come by our house, probably 8 and 10, and they saw the ducks, and we spent probably half an hour outside explaining where the ducks came from, the duck eggs and everything, and he excitedly took one of our duck eggs and wanted to show his mom, and he took it home. And that's what we're trying to do, is we're kind of trying to do a small-scale urban farm on our property, nothing huge and crazy. We're not getting goats and llamas and all this, but we want to be able to kind of expand to the public and these little kids who don't know where our food comes from and explain this stuff to them. And so it kind of doesn't make sense to us why we can have ducks and we can't have chickens. And it's a bit frustrating to not even get that to the point of a vote after spending several months speaking with people in Mr. Duchesne's office, coming to the planning meetings, speaking to the planning council members. I guess if it's possible to have that come to a vote and at least get some sort of explanation from you guys as to why it can't happen, I would love to hear it, because we're trying to improve the community in the only way that we really can right now. And this is one of the ways that we want to do it. And so, if that's an opportunity that we can be afforded, that would be wonderful, because we're trying to provide for our own family with the chickens through the eggs, and also provide some education to these kids who don't understand the basics of where food is coming from, basics of gardens and, you know, where plants come from or how eggs are created. I mean, these kids didn't even know how the ducks were able to make eggs. That's where our community is right now. So we're trying to educate these kids, and we're getting a little bit of pushback from the community, and we don't really know why. So if you guys could take 5 minutes to just explain why we can't have the backyard chickens, but we can have the ducks, I'd really appreciate that.
Thank you. Let's move to, unless anyone else wishes to be heard at this time. All right, seeing none, the second hearing of the public is closed. We'll move to mayor and council reports. Let's start with Mr. Kleinfeld.
Well, originally I didn't have anything this evening, but I'm just going to respond to the chicken thing real quick. I think before there was just a lack of interest in directing administration to spend resources researching it because it didn't seem like there was enough support there. Maybe I would just propose putting it just on the agenda just to discuss it next meeting to see where council feels. And
I think,
go from there.
didn't we review it with one of the state laws related?
What I recall is that I contacted several different communities, spoke with the city attorneys who had ordinances on the books to find out what their experiences were. And I included a list of communities in this area that have such ordinances and communities that do not have such ordinances, and prepared that and presented that to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission considered all of that, and then I believe it was in one of my monthly status reports with that same information. And Councilman Kleinfeld is correct. I believe there was just a lack of interest at that time moving forward, but what I seem to recall is that it was left open, that it may be something that would be revisited possibly in the future.
I thought it did come to council. I'd have to go back through my minutes, but I thought.
I don't think we ever
We had a discussion.
Yeah, I don't.
Only in here.
I don't recall actually drafting a proposed ordinance amendment to allow
But
for
since that
that.
time, wasn't there a change in the state law as well?
I'm not aware of that, Madam Mayor.
So maybe you might want to go back and review that. And I know that with the ducks, because we went back through our animal ordinance, and they can have 2 ducks.
If you wouldn't mind just forwarding that information to us again, maybe in the next brief. I don't hold on to them, so I don't want to go digging. If you're able to.
What I'll do is I'll go back and find out which monthly report that information was in, and I will include that in my October report. So the council will have that in advance of the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have anything else?
Oh, that's it.
Ms. Lucido?
I only have a couple of things this evening. The first is that the Friends of the Library are having a fundraiser October 18th. It's all day long from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Donna's Family Dining Restaurant. It's located at 10 Mile and Kelly. They have really great food there. You should check it out. They will be receiving 15% of the proceeds that day, which is huge, and it would really help the library out. The only other thing that I would like to say this evening is I would like to wish my son a happy 13th birthday. His birthday is on Thursday, and I'd like to say happy birthday to him. And that will be it for this evening.
Thank you. Mr. DeMonico?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to briefly touch on the chickens also, when we talked about it briefly at council, I said I was definitely interested in at least looking at it. I don't know too much about it and was interested to find more. So if enough of us are, I think that would be definitely something to at least look into, to see pros, cons, all that, of course. Just heard a lot of pros from the resident. And then, second of all, just wanted to just really briefly recognize again the winners of the Salute to Excellence. It was a great event as usual, and it's great to recognize everyone that helps in the community. So, just really briefly, we had our East Detroit Student of the Year was Kenneth Matthews. Our East Detroit Public Schools Educators of the Year for elementary was Brooke Van Ree. Middle school is Edith Cameron. High school is Kevin Kilday. And instructional mentor, Diane Peters. Our Youth of the Year, which is no stranger to council. He's been to meetings. Alex Fazette, he did the signs on Kelly. And we also have our Officer of the Year, Officer Robert McNeil, and Firefighter of the Year, Firefighter Kirk Lee. Our Citizen of the Year is in the audience right now, Harvey Curley. And let's see, Eastpointe, You've Made a Difference Award, St. Veronica Church, and Sarah Candell. The Capital Improvement Awards was the Community Housing Networks, Grafton Townhomes, which is at 9 Mile and Oakwood. If you've been by there, there's a nice new development, looks very, very nice there. And what also looks very nice is the other Capital Improvement Award, American Renal Associates Dialysis Centers of Michigan in Eastpointe at 10 Mile and Kelly. And just 3 more here, the Eastpointe Pioneer Awards, part of Federal Credit Union on the eastern part of the city on 8 Mile, and then the East Detroit Tiger Cats football. And Eastpointe Business of the Year Award, Patrick Wolf. He's an Aflac independent agent. So if you see any of them out in the community, say congratulations and, ask them about what they've been doing for the community. And that is all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Marion?
Just a couple quick notes. Number one, I'd like to still congratulate the Parks Department. I think our city parks are looking wonderful right now. The maintenance on them, the upkeep, they can't be looking much better than they are. They're just doing a bang-up job. I think a lot of it comes from J.J. Mish as well as the Parks Department within the city. The other thing is, just out of curiosity, the little free library that we put up at the My Dog Park, the activity of that is just phenomenal. If you haven't stopped and check it out, this thing is chock full of books. I'm glad we made it as big as we did, because it's just getting a huge amount of usage, and I really get a kick out of driving by and see 2 people sitting on the bench and 2 people got their heads stuck inside the doghouse trying to look for books. And I've seen that on numerous occasions. So I'm anxious that other people pick this up and we could develop some more of those for the other city parks, because I think it's just a great opportunity for something to be close by in the neighborhood that people are really using. So.
Madam Mayor, can I jump in real quick? I missed one because it starts with Roseville. Anthony Lipinski from Rare had won for Roseville and Eastpointe, the You've Made a Difference Award, so sorry I overlooked that.
I wanted to address the lady that was talking about the SMART and the bus. For many, many years, I took a bus back and forth to work, and they were extremely dependable, and I think they're a fantastic means of transportation. But the SMART bus, there's no talk at all of eliminating the SMART bus. The RTA is an addition to the SMART bus. And that's the question is, do you want to spend additional amount of money for the RTA? And the RTA then would also coordinate the SMART and Ann Arbor Transit and the M1 and the People Mover and everything else. So it's a considerable amount of money, and the question is, do we really need to do it at this time? Because it's not really necessarily all coordinated together. It's in addition to what we currently have. So there's no talk about getting rid of your bus service at all. We do have transportation. We have what we call curb to curb for handicapped people. All you have to do is call RARE. That's where the calls are all handled for Eastpointe and Roseville. But we do have curb-to-curb service, and we do have, as well, door-to-door service for the handicapped. So the seniors use the curb-to-curb, and the handicapped people use the door-to-door. So we do have those services, and we could use extra money to expand those services because we have a lot more seniors in the area, and I think also a lot more people that could use the door-to-door. So it takes a lot to do a little bit more coordination of what we have rather than just adding another layer to it. So we're all working on that. Mr. Jakubiak and Mr. Curley has a committee, and of course, Mr. Duchesne and myself and a couple other people in administration are back and forth all the time with meetings. We have another meeting this week on Friday about it. I did want to talk a little bit about the convention and some of the things that were discussed. Mr. Duchesne would probably tell you nothing brand new. But this, I think you all had, was the core legislative principles, and I don't know whether you read these things at all, but there's a little bit modernizing on some of these. And it may be that some things, some of the new recommendations are things that we need to take back to the Planning Commission and incorporate it in the master plan. One of the things is they're recommending a lot more art, Cardi. So they're recommending that art be evidence, and whether you have temporary art shows in various locations, like there was some talk of doing one at the City Hall. But one of the other things they recommend is murals and changing murals so that you have different kinds of art that will be attractive and put those in places. So I know that's always been a thing that we go over the sign ordinance over and over again, and we always get stuck on the word mural. So maybe that's something that we might look to for the next spring. And then, of course, they're always looking for placemaking, and they're looking for more in the way of multimodal transportation. So it may be time that we go back and we look at how can we increase the walkability in the area, as well as for bikes. I'm seeing more and more bikes, and so it may be time that we do some of that. And then, of course, recreation. They just want everybody outdoors all the time. Everybody would be happy if you could keep everybody outside and active. And there's a little bit more coming down the pike on community development and getting involved with changing the community. And we're probably one of the quickest, because we did the redevelopment ready communities, so we're still only one of 3. I think Muskegon is getting theirs now. But there's a lot more community involvement, and of course they want to know what can they do for us. And when you fill out those questionnaires of what they can do for us, they never seem to recognize the fact that we filled out those questionnaires. So Steve is against questionnaires this week. So, but the meeting was very, very good. It was very interesting. There were 450 people there, so there's a lot of networking and so forth that goes on. I stayed in St. Ignace and took the ferry boat back and forth every day, so that was an interesting adventure all by itself. Anyway, I did go to the mass mob at St. Veronica's. I was very, very impressed how many people attended the mass mob. I don't know, there had to be at least 2,000 people that came and went. The city looked beautiful, the church looked beautiful, and everybody commented about how nice the city looked. A lot of people who used to live and attend St. Veronica's mentioned that the city actually looked really good, that the streets looked nice and clean and the houses looked good, so that's always nice to hear. You take a deep breath. I did want to address, I can't address all your questions about the police and so forth, but our police chief is right there, so you might want to talk to him. But we have in the past looked at neighborhood groups, neighborhood watches. There was an active neighborhood watch several years ago. It became a problem because of the volunteers, the number of volunteers. But there is a group right now that's working on developing a neighborhood watch. We also have our PACE committee, and if you want to get involved at all, PACE committee usually meets on the 4th Tuesday of every month at 11 o'clock in the police department, and you might want to get involved in that, because different ways to get local people involved in volunteering. So that might be something you might want to do. No, that was an 11 o'clock meeting for PACE, which is the Police and Community Working for Equality. So with that, I have nothing else, and I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Support.
Move and support it. Please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.